Day 268 of the Ukrainian War Map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzy here, and today is a very super quick update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine today. And as always, I'll start off with those Russian military losses. So as of the 18th of November, in the last 24-hour reporting period, there is currently 83,460 Russian military personnel losses, of which about 350 were gained, or should I say lost, in the past day. Then we have a look at the hardware losses, a little bit smaller than average today, but an additional 4 armoured combat vehicles, 1 tank and 5 artillery. Then we'll move back across to the map and we'll start out again in Belgrade, so the Belgrade Oblast within the actual Russian Federation there, and never a quiet day for this Oblast in recent times, that's for sure. So where a power substation was damaged as the result of shelling in the Belgrade district. Now, Belgrade at this stage is clearly the Russian motherland's whipping boy in this war. But here's the thing, so when Ukraine pushes Russia back to its border, just as it's done in this case, to the recently adjacent liberated Kharkiv Oblast, the natural outcome of all of this is that the artillery exchanges happen from both sides of the fence now, so of the border fence, so to speak. So in other words, Russia has technically brought this war to its own borders. As far as this location's example is concerned, and I'm sure that the Russian motherland will continue to get a lot more frontline exposure to this war as the time goes on. I'm going to move across today to the capital of Kyiv, so Kyiv capital, where 18 missiles were fired from Russia throughout the entire country of Ukraine. But in the capital of Kyiv itself, it actually shot down 4 missiles, cruise or tactical missiles, and 5 drones. So exclusively shot down in that region, so that's nice to see there. Then we'll move across to the Donbass region today. So Russia is building up additional defenses in the town behind Kreminna. So you've probably heard of this one before. It's been struck once or twice, Rubizny. So no doubt Russia is now attempting to prepare multiple lines of defense after some really embarrassing losses with Curson and the Kharkiv Oblast in the recent months there. And then when we move down the map, there's a bit of confusion. So there's a lot of towns with the same name, even within the same oblast sometimes. So for instance, there is a town here called Optine. And that's the wrong pronunciation. Don't worry, I'll get that right soon. So this is quite separate to the one right next to Bakhmut, or on the Bakhmut front line. So this was actually taken by the Russian forces there. But let's go back to where the most intense fighting of any current war on the globe is right now. Probably right here. So we're looking at Optine, which it's been non-stop. Sort of like a stalemate, but not in the way that nothing's happening, everything's happening. The best fighters on both sides, but here's the Optine here. Not captured, technically the front line of the south of Bakhmut there. Then we'll move across. So there was several explosions near the city of Donetsk, in Donetsk there. So here it is. So might be hard to see on the map, but Oligarchs. So there's actually a train passageway through this town, where it was reported that the train station got hit by 6 HIMARS projectiles. So quite a few wagons or cargo carts or cars there, as they sometimes refer to them as. So it seems like the Ukrainian forces were waiting to precision strike the train, which was carrying echelons of Russian forces' equipment. So Ukraine loves to not only cut the lines of the supply routes, but indeed if they can get any actual equipment. I think it wasn't confirmed, but I think there was a self-propelled guns or artillery, Mr. B artillery, those sorts of things there. But yeah, Ukraine will do it if it gets the chance. That is for darn certain. Then we'll move down a little bit further to, now, I shouldn't say this, but probably, again, the most intense place of fighting apart from Bakhmut. Don't like to copy my words there, but Pavlovka, it is actually with the armed forces of Ukraine under fire control. So the actual Pavlovka to Mikilsk. So both of these settlements. So Russia cannot travel between the two that easily. They'd have to go back and then come back forth because they do not like driving on open plains. They prefer the roads for their own reasons we won't get into in this shorter video today. So this firepower is really artillery strikes from the Ukrainian forces side, inflicting quite some damage to the Russian columns in and around the region there. But neither party really has control of Pavlovka. It would be considered a win for either side. It's not a big town, but I'm sure the Russian propaganda machine would tout it as quite the big win if it was to be completely overtaken by them. So lose half an oblast last week, take a small settlement this week. I don't know, but they'll take any win as a win, right? Then I'll just quickly show you some of the loot, as I refer to it as there. So the captured Russian hardware in this region. So there was a Russian 152mm self-propelled gun, otherwise known as a Mr. S. This was actually a Mr. S M2 variant, so a little bit later and greater in comparison. So that's always nice to see. And this actually happened in the Luhansk Oblast up the top, where Ukraine is actually pushing. So I find this happens a lot. So even though the maps aren't updated here, or we can't see a push from the Ukrainian forces as much as we'd like to, when the Ukrainian forces actually do take and show captured Russian hardware from this region, it is quite indicative of the land gains made in this region by the Ukrainian forces that will be updated on this map sooner or later. Then we'll move across to the Curson region, the other front line there as well, although probably just as many troops, but not as intense as Bakhmut or Pavlovka, at least for today. There's actually been a lot of Ukrainian strikes on a number of towns here, and this is what Ukraine does best. So even though they're above the river, they've got that natural Dnipro River obstacle, it doesn't stop them from using high precision strikes like HIMARS or M270 strikes to take out a lot of locations here, like the Chaplinka location, Skadovsk, and a few others around here as well, including Novokakhovka. Which all of this means the Russian forces have to pull their equipment and troops way back further than they would otherwise want to, because this then creates an additional logistics and supply issue headache for those Russian forces there. But I will concede, Russia did return some fire in this location here in the last 24 hours. So they were shooting or firing from the south end here, so Hola Pristan and Olenski, and they're actually firing to Chernobevka. Not sure if you remember that one. There's actually an airfield there. Oh, and in fact, it's indicated by the little picture there anyway, and Antonivka. Now, this is important because these are the very two same locations that they used to have control at and have a base at. So it really must decrease the Russian army's morale to know that they are now firing at positions that they just held as little as just 1 week ago. Ooh, and speaking of firing at Chaplinka, so I'm going to have to go back to that one if I can find it. So we have an ammo dump burning throughout the night at Chaplinka there. So, and with the exploding here, sometimes you'll see the exploding, it looks like it's fireworks when the ammunition explodes there. And you do see it in this clip there for a little bit. Quite the spectacle. And then, as expected in this area, in terms of Russian captured hardware, so another 60s era, Soviet era museum piece, so the T-62 tank with amazing wooden cope cage, the copest of cages there. Then we'll move across to Crimea, so we'll move right all the way down there, where Russian media reported that there was a drone that crashed at a substation at Feodosia, but it also appeared to happen at two other substations as well, at Armyansk and Jankoy. Now we know Jankoy from yesterday there as well. Now, of course, these locations are beyond the range of conventional weaponry, and we do know that, well, we've got some pictures here showing what would appear to be maybe a surveillance drone. Now, it is likely to be Ukrainian as well. These things we always need to confirm, but I do find it odd that it would be considered maybe a kamikaze drone if it's got wheels. I can't think of many at all kamikaze drones that do have wheels because they are one use. There's no point putting those wheels on if they only get one or zero uses out of them, really, because the way that they're shot off onto the sky isn't from a landing strip. And then in just a little bit of news to round off the day, so the Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov admitted that Russia is actually striking Ukraine's infrastructure to force Kyiv to negotiate. Now, the reason why they want to do this is to affect the civilian population in all of Ukraine. So everybody, all potentially up to 40 million of them at the moment, to make them have a change of heart. But that actually isn't the case. In fact, it's having the reverse effect, taking out the infrastructure, causing Ukraine's lights to be sometimes out for a while, sometimes intermittently out, or indeed in many cases, the failed strikes from the Russian side, meaning no loss of power in many regions at all. Particularly considering there is or has been a lot of generators sent or backup generators sent to Ukraine as well. So it doesn't appear to be working at all. And I don't think it would work either way, even though winter is certainly coming. And, they need their warm houses, Ukrainian citizens. But in the end, they start to stand up in solidarity against the Russian regime because of all these strikes. And then in some other news, the Ukraine-Russian-Turkey grain deal has now been extended for another 120 days. Of course, you might remember just about a few weeks ago, Russia said that it was putting an end to it, to the passage, but then Turkey and Ukraine, flying under a Turkish flag, grain from the port of Odessa in Ukraine out through the Turkish port, wasn't actually going past anything really in terms of Russian warships. It was completely bypassing them straight down there. So I'm not surprised in the end that the grain deal has been extended for another 120 days. Turkey and Ukraine called their bluff last time. They would just do it again this time. And Russia wants to save face and pretend they're doing the right thing. So that would be that. And I'm going to keep it there for today, guys. Got a lot going on this day. A wedding, not mine, just a friend's. And so this is that's why this video is a lot shorter, not as in-depth as I obviously always want it to be, and probably not that entertaining either. But it is what it is. Can't do it every day, but I do it as many as I can. So thanks for watching, guys. Please leave a comment, subscribe, hit that like button, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.